Part 118. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1203. There may not be many updates in these 2 days. Nuan is sorting out the threads of the finale. Starting from the 28th, there will be a lot of updates. Boss, why are you so happy today? Jo Han Liang looked at Zhou Mikang with a confused look on his face. Is there any good news? There is good news, but I can't tell you. Zhou Mikang consciously adjusted his facial expression and looked at someone who was staring straight at him. Our record during this period, isn't it good news? Are you happy because of this? Jo Han Liang looked at the teacher in disbelief. He was a little confused. He was not so happy when he won, but now he is happy. Is this reflex arc long? A little too much. Raising his eyebrows, Mr. Master said matter-of-factly, shouldn't you be happy about this? It should, of course it should. Han Liang Xiangzi almost wanted to hug his head and cry. The teacher was becoming more and more bullying. If he asked this, did he dare to say that it shouldn't be? Then, throughout the afternoon, Han Liang's zone became even more curious when he saw the brisk steps of the teacher and the bright smile. He believed that the teacher definitely did not tell him the truth. Could it be that he had something to do with his sister-in-law? In an instant, Han Liang Tongzi felt that he had found out the truth. Sir. During dinner, Han Liang asked Zi in a low voice, did your sister-in-law praise you, so you are so happy today? Are you too much in charge? Zhou Mikang looked at him with a smile. What does this have to do with you? Teacher, you can't bully me like this. You have a wife by your side, but I don't. You have seen the birth of your 2 sons, but I haven't seen his true appearance until now. If you don't think about anything else, because I have been with you for so many years, shouldn't you also comfort me now and not rub salt on my knife edge like this? Sprinkled salt. Zhou Mikang looked him up and down. Where is the wound? Why didn't I look at it? Pretending to be stupid. Zhou Han Liang sighed and ate his own food honestly. How could he not know his master's temper after following him for so many years? Moreover, if you ask too many questions, you may be the unlucky one. He is too familiar with Master Shishang's tricks, so he doesn't want to be remembered by the other party. Zhou Han Liang asked me what good news I had today, and I was so happy. After welcoming his little wife into the tent, Zhou Mikang hugged her and whispered in her ear, what do you think I answered him? Chu Xia curled her lips, you must have said it's none of his business. Sure enough, you still understand me. Sitting on the chair with his little wife in his arms, stroking each other's hair with his chin, the teacher's voice was gentler than ever before, we haven't been together for more than 2 years. She understood what he meant but was embarrassed to answer. Chu Xia's face turned red with embarrassment, as if it was stained with rouge. The beauty in my arms has a soft figure, a jade-like face, and shy eyes. She is so beautiful that the teacher, who has been holding it in for more than 2 years, cannot bear it no matter how strong his concentration is. As early as when he came in, he pulled the tent to death from the inside. At this point, there was no need to worry about anyone disturbing him. After a while, the military green tent was filled with light. Feeling his hot body, Chu Xia's body arched up sensitively. There was a voice in her heart screaming for her to pay attention, but her actions were not controlled at all. This made the teacher even more excited. He was in the rest stage and had completed his inspections. He really had nothing to worry about tonight. There is only my little wife in my eyes and heart. Miss me? He asked hoarsely. I don't want to, someone replied harshly. Really don't want to or don't want to? His hands kept igniting her sensitive parts, but he didn't take any further action. The lust in his eyes was red. Naked in front of her. I really don't want to, she was still insisting. Even though she came from that open era, she still couldn't open up about this kind of thing. She didn't want to admit her current desire. You don't want me to. The teacher, Tongzi, no longer forced her to express her position, and allowed her to do as she pleased, leaving only the sound of gurgling water in the room. After a night of fighting, it was already 1 o'clock in the morning when we stopped. Chu Xia was so tired that she didn't want to move. She glared at him. I hate it. He also felt that he had gone too far. Zhou Mixang smiled flatteringly at his little wife, held her in his arms, and patted her. Go to sleep, I will ask for leave for you tomorrow morning, and you can go back in the afternoon. No, that would be really embarrassing. Chu Xia, who was already so sleepy that she couldn't even open her eyelids, suddenly became energetic and sat up. Zhou Mixang, if you dare to ask for leave, I will divorce you. You. Looking at his little wife dumbfounded, Zhou Mixang was speechless. How could this escalate to the point of divorce? Xia, we can't talk about this casually in the future, otherwise, see how I punish you. When talking about punishment, I deliberately looked up and down her body. Rogue, Chiliu ducked back. Under the covers, Chu Xia turned around and stopped talking to the teacher. Seeing that his little wife was really angry, Zhou Mixang quickly coaxed her. Don't worry, I won't ask for leave. I definitely won't ask for leave. Stop next time when I say stop. Someone turned his head and stared angrily at the teacher, who was still full of energy. Otherwise, don't think about it again. Listen to you. Zhou Mixang carefully tucked his little wife into bed, and lay down. Go to sleep, otherwise you will really have no energy at all tomorrow. I knew I would lose my energy a little bit, but... What's wrong? Zhou Mixang was so frightened that he suddenly got stuck while he was talking. What happened? I forgot to take measures. What if something happens? Chu Xia looked at the teacher Tongzi with a bitter face. I was thinking about it at first, but then I forgot about it, and you don't think about it with us either. I hate it so much. What can I do? If you have one, give birth to it. Don't you want us to have another little daughter? Zhou Mixang looked at his little wife with longing. How cute would it be to have a little daughter as beautiful as you? Can I give birth? Chu Xia was not sure whether she had started family planning now. She was completely thinking about future generations just now, and felt that the Zhou family was a military family, so it would be impossible for her to give birth. Of course we can give birth. Zhou Mixang looked at his little wife with a puzzled look on his face. How could anyone object to this? My parents and grandparents are eager for us to have more babies. It's not that my parents are against it, it's that I forgot when family planning started. A family is only allowed to have one child. In an ordinary family, if the first child is a girl, the wife waits until the wife is 30, or the first child is 6 years old. You can have another child, but a family like ours is absolutely not allowed to have another child, so I'm worried. Haven't you heard the news about this yet? Chu Xia told the other party the truth, and Zhou Mixang knew it anyway. There is naturally nothing to hide about her rebirth. No, it hasn't been implemented yet, or it will be done after this battle is over. After a pause, Zhou Mixang said, according to what you said, there may have been a proposal, but we have always been here, so I don't know. It's okay, just feel at ease, I'll take care of everything. Forget it, I won't worry about it anymore, maybe it'll be fine at all. After yawning, Chu Xia tilted her body and hit her down with a gudong. Zhou Mixang caught her, took her into his arms, and rubbed her head. You're not allowed to lie like this when I'm not around. What if you hit your head? Don't worry, even if your brain is smashed, you won't become stupid. Chu Xia grinned and stopped talking. After a while, her breathing became longer. It seemed that she was really exhausted. Zhou Mixang's eyes were full of distress, and he was also a little annoyed with himself. Why was he so ignorant? She was so tired now and couldn't rest well. How could she do it? But there was no point regretting it now. I could only get up early in the morning to prepare some delicious food for her. I suddenly remembered that my father had some canned beef brought from home. Teacher Zongzi suddenly had something to eat. Got an idea. In the morning, Chu Xia was woken up by the aroma of meat porridge. When she opened her eyes, she was confused for a long time before she realized where she was. She rubbed her heavy head and sat up. She saw a picture of the teacher's tube. The handsome face stretched out. I made beef porridge for you. Get up and drink some to warm your stomach. Beef porridge, Chu Xia looked surprised. Where did you get the beef? And what did you use to cook it? Dad's canned beef happened to have a small alcohol stove. I cooked it at his place and left a big bowl for him. These are all yours. After saying this, Zhou Mikang stepped back and pointed at the table. Drink more and supplement your nutrition. Look at how thin you are now. If the elders see it, it will really hurt you to death. You don't feel sorry for me, Chu Xia said, rolling her eyes. That's right, if you felt sorry for me, you wouldn't treat me like that, I was wrong, I was wrong. I promise, I will never be so unrestrained again. Do you still think about the future? Chu Xia glared at him fiercely. I made an exception this time because I was soft-hearted. If it happens again, I will be embarrassed to see anyone. Many people don't know that she is the teacher's wife. Although there is nothing wrong with her living in the teacher's tent, the timing is really inappropriate. Just thinking about it makes her feel guilty. Anyway, no matter when she goes back, this is definitely the only time. No matter how miserable the teacher is, she will not make an exception. Okay, we'll talk about it after we get back. Zhou Mikang agreed happily. When he saw his little wife was getting dressed and folding the quilt, he quickly stopped him. I'll come, you go wash your face and brush your teeth first. I'll get you some water. One pot is hot and one bucket is cold. Just pour it into the empty bucket when you are done using it. R1152. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1204. The attentiveness of the teacher Tongzi calmed down the anxious Chu Xia. She is really attracted to each other. They are husband and wife. Since they have come to the same place, it is completely normal to live together. What is there to worry about? He truly loved her, doted on her, thought of everything for her, and would do everything he could for her. Moreover, running to his father-in-law in the middle of the night to ask for cans and alcohol stove to cook porridge, this was very difficult for any man. That said, these are extremely difficult things. People are often particularly concerned about face with their relatives. Many men, even if they really feel sorry for their wives, do not want their relatives to see it, for fear that their relatives will know what uncomfortable feelings they feel in their hearts. Indeed, it is normal to feel uncomfortable and even more normal to have worries when she raises an older child with her own hands but goes to love others. This fact alone shows how well she married. The other party can give up those unnecessary self-esteem for her, why can't she? Moreover, the more people care about it, the more guilty they become. Being frank and generous will make many people unable to say anything. Thinking of this, Chu Xia came back completely relaxed after washing her face. Seeing his little wife who was in an obviously different state, Zhou Mikang looked puzzled. Are you so happy after just washing your face? Yes. After taking a sip of the porridge, Chu Xia gave him a thumbs up. It tastes good. Your skills are absolutely superb. You can actually make such delicious food under such simple conditions. As expected, smart people are smart people. I drank it all if I liked it. I also ate 2 eggs. Zhou Mikang rubbed her head happily. After eating, put the bowl here and wait for me to come back and clean it. I will make it when I have time. You eat? That's no need. If you have this intention, you will often cook for me when you go back. Now, when you are so busy, how can I be so ignorant? Besides, how can I have the face to do this? See Dad. Dad won't say anything. When I left, he said while drinking porridge, let me continue to promise to make you fatter. Joe Mikang shook his head as he said, I don't know what he was thinking. Should I make you fatter, or should I make myself fatter? Look, you've wronged me. How much convenience did Dad come here to help you, and you still talk about him like this? Chusia rolled her eyes at her husband and giggled again. Come over and eat with me, you let me, or are you sincerely trying to stuff me to death by eating so much? It's just porridge, not much. I'll be hungry after a while. After drinking, Joe Mikang waved to her, turned around and walked out. I'll go to the cafeteria to eat. Hey, Chusia hurriedly took 2 steps to grab him, pouting dissatisfiedly, do you think I'm an outsider? You even cooked a meal for me and went to the cafeteria to eat by yourself? No matter how big my appetite is, I can't eat these. Don't you know you can't eat too full in the morning? Come back quickly, finish the porridge and then go to the cafeteria to eat. I know that it's not enough for you to eat, so I won't make it difficult for you. You should go to the cafeteria later, but now, you must eat these meals with me. Get rid of. Each of us accepts 1 portion and half of the porridge. If you agree, I will continue to eat. If not, I will stay here for you to cook. You. Being forced by his little wife, Joe Mikang had no choice but to come back, and together with his little wife, he drank all the porridge in the big rice bowl. As for the eggs, he ate the green ones and left the yellow ones. Little wife. Chusia stared at him speechlessly. Eggs must be green and yellow together to taste good. Eating them like this will make people choke to death. Realizing that he seemed to have done something careless, Joe Mikang looked embarrassed. When I ate it just now, I thought it would be more nutritious. I will definitely not be like this next time. It's good to know. Chusia took advantage of his laughter and stuffed an egg yolk into his mouth. I'm small and can't digest so many nutrients. Look at how thin you have become and you still blame me. In the past, Chusia found it particularly unbearable to watch others eat and be fed here and there, but now, when it was her turn, she realized that when the relationship came, doing this kind of thing was actually quite happy. When she returned to the medical team, it was just after 6:30 and she took over at 7 o'clock. She went back to the dormitory. When she entered the door, she found that everyone looked at her with deep meaning. Her face turned slightly red. Chusia smiled at everyone. He smiled, calmly walked to his bunk and sat down, reaching out to push Zhao Bingbing, who was still sleeping. I'm up, I have to wash my face, brush my teeth and eat. If you get tired of it for a while, you will be delayed. I won't have breakfast. Let me sleep for a while. Turning over, Zhao Bingbing continued to stay in bed. How can you do without breakfast in the morning? Your body is made of iron. Chusia continued to push her. Don't forget the purpose of your coming here. Don't let your body collapse first if you haven't achieved your purpose by then. It's so wordy. Zhao Bingbing had no choice but to get up and glared at Chusia with dissatisfaction. Now you have a rivalry with my mother's Luosuo. If I don't care about your body, who would want to talk to you too? Chusia rolled her eyes at her, stood up and walked out. I called you anyway, don't blame me if you are scolded for being late. As soon as Chusia finished speaking, Zhao Bingbing immediately sped up her dressing movements. Oh my god, she didn't want to be scolded. The leader of her group had such a hot temper, and she didn't want to get in trouble. As the war intensifies, there are more and more wounded, and management is naturally becoming more and more strict. Those like Chusia who can start independently are extremely busy when they are busy, but they are also relatively free and only do nursing. Everyone, they are all destined to die in a few beds. Although they have more free time, they cannot go around in groups like they did in early summer. Therefore, now everyone's meetings mainly rely on the free activities in early summer. She will meet her friends in whichever group she goes to. Otherwise, she may not see each other for several days. After all, everyone is on different shifts. Well, before it was time, Chusia went to see Yamiru first. After the operation, she recovered well and could now get out of bed and move around freely. Seeing Chuseo come in, Yamiru's lips showed a smile. This teacher's wife is also very qualified, always arriving early and leaving late, so it is still necessary for you to come here, at least it has the effect of boosting morale. How are you feeling today? Chuseo looked at her with a smile. You look good. Is there anything good going on? Yes, Yamiru smiled happily. It's really a good thing. Do you want to know? If you want to tell me, just tell me. If you don't want to tell me, I can't force you, right? You are so uncooperative. Yamiru sighed helplessly. You are obviously so much younger than me, but sometimes you talk so old-fashioned that I thought you were the same age as my mother. Chuseo was speechless. Are you praising me or disparaging me? Of course I'm complimenting you. Yamiru smiled and hugged her shoulders. Okay, let me tell you, my grandpa called me yesterday and said that I am welcome to come home at any time. Congratulations. Chuseo had already thought of this result and smiled sincerely. Can you rest assured now? When I told you before, you said it was absolutely impossible. Mainly, I was too unsure of what I had done in the past, and I had brought shame on my family. I thought my grandparents, parents would never forgive me. I used to feel that they were too harsh on me and didn't care about me at all. Sure enough, people's thoughts are different and their perspective is different. Now I feel that they really love me when they are strict with me. If I had continued to do what I wanted, my whole life would have come to an abrupt end at a young age. So, if I really want to say it, I still want to thank you. Lin Chuxia, thank you very much. If it weren't for your generosity, their handling at that time would definitely not have been like that. Then, I would not have had the opportunity to go through that kind of training, let alone what I am today. No matter how I live in the future, as of today, I am very satisfied with my life. Although I have done so many bad things, my family has not given up on me, my friends have not given up on me, and my lover has not given up either. My life, have lost nothing. God really loves me so much. Lin Chuxia, I used to envy you and thought you were God's favorite, but now, I feel that I am worthy of being envied too. Yes, of course you are worthy of being envied. Chuseo smiled at her. You haven't told Brother Zo this good news yet, have you? Well, I haven't had time to tell him yet. You must talk to him at that moment and make him happy. To be honest, he is probably the person who cares about you the most and values you the most in the world, right? Yes, Yamiru nodded in approval. No matter who it is impossible for him to pamper me as unprincipledly as he does. Speaking of which, it is good or bad for him to do this. However, when I encountered such a trial, if I didn't have such a person to accompany me, or I might not be able to get out, so Lin Chuxia, I decided to marry him when I go back. I originally thought that I was abandoned by the Ye family and marrying him would be unfair to him. But now it's better. Grandpa has let me go back. Although I have some personal shortcomings, my family can make up for it. You're thinking too much. If he cared about this, he wouldn't have done that from the beginning. I advise you, if you don't want to disappoint him, don't have such thoughts. If you like him, treat him well, let him come into your life, and let him feel that you value him. I think this is what he wants most. Yes, this is what I want. Zohai stepped in, glanced at Chuseo gratefully, and then fixed his eyes firmly on Yamiru. R1152. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 1205. Okay, you guys chat, I'll go out and take a look. Not wanting to be a light bulb, Chuseo said goodbye to the two of them with a smile. Although it was impossible for Yamiru to be her friend, she still felt good for her when she saw that the other party had such a good home. Happy. You wait first. Chusia stopped and turned around, but Yamiru stared at her for a long time without saying a word. Zohai panicked and looked at her carefully. Does the chest hurt again? No, she patted his hand comfortingly and smiled at him. Yamiru turned to look at Chusia. I just want to say thank you again in a very solemn way. Okay, I received it. Chusia nodded to her without saying any polite words. The past problems are all over. From now on, everyone will be well and live happily. It's necessary. You can't be unhappy, and I can't let myself be unhappy. Yamiru breathed a sigh of relief and put her hand on Zohai's arm. Can you help me out for a walk? I want to get better soon. Go home early. No, you still need to rest more now and wait for a while before moving around. Zohai, who was always obedient to Yamiru, rarely went against her. It's okay. I can move more now. If you don't believe me, just ask Chusia. Yamiru looked at Chusia with a blank look. Chusia, am I right? Don't do strenuous activities. It's okay to slow down and take a walk. Seeing Zohai blinking at herself, Chusia smiled. He's recovering well. Brother Zo doesn't need to be so nervous. He seems to be still seriously injured. Average period. Zohai was a little discouraged, thinking that the other party would cooperate with him. Anyway, he felt that the injury was so serious, even if it seemed that he was almost recovered, he should stay in bed for a while to recuperate. Well, can he say that he really likes this kind of personal care? Okay, he seems a little selfish. Chusia and others belong to the Eastern Front. With the help of her prophet, the advance speed is of course extremely fast. But what is rare is that Commander Su on the Western Front, even without Zhou Mikang's innate advantage, the advance speed is not inferior to that of Zhou Mikang. Eastern Front. The spring-filled May can't be felt here at all. It's covered in grass and riddled with holes. If it weren't for the warmth in the wind, it would make people feel like it's still winter. These days, the station basically has to be moved every 3 to 5 days, which naturally means that the pace of victory is accelerating. Everyone is both happy and shocked. The happy part is that it is about to end and you can see your loved ones. The sad part is that the price of victory is that it may take many years for this land to regain its vitality. After more than half a year of experience, Chusia has been able to independently enter the operating table. Instead of helping Dr. Chiao, she has now been helped by Dr. Chiao. Of course, it's not that Dr. Chiao's medical skills are inferior to Chusia's, but that this generous senior brother must do it. Use this period of time to polish off the younger junior sister. Maybe after returning, Yu Laonian will accept him for the sake of his dedication. Give him a favor and repay him with a favor. When he called home in the early summer, he would often mention his elder brother's care for him. The junior sister was so kind, and everyone got along more harmoniously. In the blink of an eye, the central part of country Y has been invaded. If we continue like this, the entire country will probably be defeated. The old man from the Western Front called us, laughed happily, and said, we just want them to understand that not everyone can do it. Provoke. Since you have provoked it, you must bear the consequences no matter what. Along with the victories, there is a problem that has begun to trouble everyone, and that is logistics supply. The food is fine, but less than half of the vegetables are always spoiled when they are shipped. After years of war, the national treasury, which has not yet been filled, can only supply a sufficient amount after starting the war mode again. Since then, when the vegetables arrive at the destination, they have always been there is a shortage. Dry climate. Eating hard food all the time will definitely affect everyone's health. We have no choice but to dig wild vegetables to supplement the vegetables. However, how much can we dig under the catkins everywhere? Sir, I saw Division L from Old Y's side bringing vegetables today. They are all so fresh. Do you want to give them a hug? After returning from duty, Jo Han Liang found Jo Mikang with a look of excitement on his face. What's wrong with this? Jo Mikang looked in agreement. It's useless for them to eat so much. They don't do good things in the first place. If we don't harm them, we will be sorry for this kind of disaster. Please make arrangements. Today act late. Chu Xia was sitting aside, looking at the two of them with a black eye. Stealing food. A division commander and a political commissar were discussing the matter of stealing food. Is it really okay? Sister-in-law, you don't agree? Noticing Chu Xia's look, Jo Mikang said seriously, if this continues for a long time, some soldiers' bodies will inevitably be unable to withstand it, and then it will really affect the overall situation. Of course, they will tolerate it, but if there are any sequelae from this, it will be too painful. They were the ones who invaded us first, and now we are doing this is considered merciful enough. If they were in our position now, can ordinary people really be immobilized? This is true. Wherever the team went, they really did not take anything away from the people. The key issue is that the people of country Y did not show resentment when they saw our army. After the initial fear, from now on, the state shown now even has a hint of excitement. Yes, excitement indeed. I asked about it in early summer, and it was said that it was because the army of country Y in the past wanted to tear down the frames of other people's houses wherever they went. The people really hated them. After seeing the style of our army, they even some are eager to reorganize the ownership. Of course, there are also some extremists who will take some extreme actions, sometimes even on a large scale, but what awaits them is to treat others with their own methods. Chu Xia agrees with Jo Mikang's approach. Why do you want to be a good person? Since you are unkind, of course I will be unjust. There is no other benefit for a good man except to make himself suffer. Kindness really has to be targeted. Therefore, when Jo Han Liang said so seriously, Chu Xia felt a little embarrassed, and immediately explained, I don't think it's wrong for us to do this, I just think it's overkill for you to do such a thing. How can it be regarded as overkill? My teacher and I often did this kind of thing in the past. We are more experienced than others. Our principle is to maximize benefits at the minimum cost. That's true. Chu Xia looked at the two of them with a smile. Imagine the two of you carrying a sack of vegetables, you are indeed quite handsome, haha. Jo Mikang looked at his young wife speechlessly, and waved his hand to Jo Han Liang, go and do your work. Let's study the plan later. Good. In response, Jo Han Liang retreated. I'm leaving too. Looking at the time, Chu Xia quickly stood up, I still have a lot of things to do over there, so I won't be coming over tonight. You take good care of yourself, pay attention to safety, and cook vegetables for me tomorrow. Have some porridge, okay? What are you guilty of? Jo Mikang looked at his little wife funny, I didn't say anything. What do you mean by being scared like this? If someone else is around, they might misunderstand me and bully you. No, I don't have a guilty conscience. I'm really busy, hee hee. Chu Xia smiled sheepishly for a while, then admitted frankly, yes, I have a little guilty conscience. I said you carry a sack of vegetables, a little it affects your image, I promise, I will never say such things again, after all, you are also a teacher, how can I ruin your image like this, right? It doesn't matter. If you think it would make you happier if I stole a chicken and kept it, I can do it as you ask. Really, Chu Xia was thinking to herself, and she was automatically making up her mind about the appearance of a chicken in her left hand, a duck in her right hand, and a big bag of vegetables on her back. One look at his little wife's smile, and it was clear that she didn't mean anything good. Jo Mikang rubbed her head helplessly, are you here? What? Chu Xia couldn't bring herself back from her thoughts. She stared blankly at the teacher's tube, not understanding who the other party was talking about. I was asking if your period has come. I didn't come. Chu Xia's face burned, and she said anxiously, "It's over, you won't really win the bid, right? Counting it, it's been a month. I've always been very accurate. It's over, Joe Mikang, if I win the bid, I will definitely bite you to death." Okay, Joe Mikang nodded, "As long as you are happy, you can do whatever you want with me. I will never resist." Humph, Chu Xia rolled her eyes, turned around and walked out. Maybe it's because I've been eating so poorly during this period that I delayed it. I didn't have any reaction, so I'm not afraid. Joe Mikang took a step forward to hold her back. "No matter what, please pay attention." "Okay, I know." Chu Xia's eyes fell on the other person's hand holding her. "Can you let me go to work now?" "You?" Joe Mikang shook his head helplessly. "Why didn't I see that you were such a workaholic before? 6 doctors are not as busy as you, the substitute team. Look how thin you have become. I agree that you should be more ambitious, but I don't agree with you working so hard. If your body is broken down, you will be unable to do it when you want to work hard in the future, which will be troublesome." "Don't worry, I know it." Chu Xia shook her thin arms. "Although it doesn't look strong enough, but if you touch it, it's all muscles. This is called beauty, do you know?" Not on the same frequency band, the teacher Zhongzi was really defeated by his little wife. "Isn't this a beautiful thing? He's talking about health. Healthy. Don't worry, good boy." He reached out and touched the nose of the teacher's tube, and someone walked out proudly. He took advantage, ha 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 ha, R1152. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1206. Second update. It was night, but Chu Xia couldn't sleep. He hesitated and quietly got up from the bunk. "What's wrong?" Zhao Bingbing looked at her with a puzzled expression and lowered her voice. "Didn't we agree to stay here tonight?" "Sleep. Go to sleep." He reached out and patted her. Chu Xia got up and walked out. She was a non-staff doctor. Unlike ordinary nursing staff, the team leader did not restrict her freedom of movement. Moreover, as the teacher's wife, even if she was not a non-staff doctor, the team leader would turn a blind eye. Not trusting her to go out alone, Zhao Bingbing and Wu Jingbo got up and followed her out. Lu Xiaomei hesitated and also had her hair done. "The team leader has a black line. Is it really okay for you to go out in groups like this? She can take care of it, she can't take care of it, just leave it alone, it doesn't seem right." During the moment of hesitation, everyone had disappeared outside the door. The team leader hesitated and continued to pretend to be asleep. After being together for such a long time, she could tell that these people had a relatively good relationship and usually acted together, but never did anything extraordinary, so she might as well give it a try. "You don't have to follow me." Looking back at the 3 yawning sleepyheads, Chu Xia smiled helplessly. "There's nothing unsafe here. Why are you worried?" Covering his mouth and yawning, Zhao Bingbing said, "The teacher specifically told us that we cannot let you move alone at night. Whatever you want to do, let us follow you." "When did you tell me?" "Just today." "What exactly are you going to do?" Wu Jingbo looked at Chu Xia curiously. "I was confused when the teacher came to us for advice. If there were no special circumstances, he would never do such a thing. Anyway, everyone will know about stealing food tomorrow morning." Chu Xia waved to a few people, gathered in a circle, and whispered about the actions of Zhou Mikang and others that night. "I didn't plan to follow them, but I just didn't feel at ease, so I decided to go over and have a look. At least I had an idea of when they would leave. It would be best to take me with them, in case anyone is injured. I can still be of some use." "The teacher will not agree." Zhao Bingbing pouted at her. "If you had followed the teacher's wishes, you should have been sent home long ago. You actually want to steal food with the teacher, haha." Yes, the teacher will definitely not agree. Even Lu Xiaomei, who has always been the least talkative, expressed her opinions. Chu Xia simply told the truth, I just want to hide it secretly. Anyway, I just need to protect myself. Are you okay with your brain? Wu Jingbo reached out and touched her forehead. Wouldn't it be more trouble if you followed? The division commander said they have experience, so they must have experience. If you follow and are discovered by the soldiers behind you, it will really affect their actions, so it's okay for you to wait for us in the division commander's tent, but I definitely don't agree with you trying to hang out in the team and follow them. Zhao Bingbing echoed, my views are the same as Jingbo's. Are you kidding me? You think I really think that way? Chu Xia rolled her eyes at the two of them. Bai and I have been together for so long, and you can't even tell what is a joke and what is the truth. You are so stupid. Several people. Is there such a thing as teasing people in the middle of the night? Okay, okay, I won't tease you anymore. How about we go there together? When they leave, we'll wait over there, so that we can know as soon as possible when they come back. Of course, no one would have any objection to Chu Xia's proposal. What's more, they are also very interested in stealing food. If they hadn't considered that they have no experience in actual combat, they would also want to get in and get involved. Stealing things, or stealing things from enemies, is it too exciting? When several people arrived, Zhou Mikang was just about to set off. Seeing the four people, he was obviously stunned, then frowned, why are you running around without sleeping at night? Don't worry about you. Chu Xia stared at him pitifully, we want to go with you, don't worry, we won't cause any trouble, okay? No, without even thinking about it, Zhou Mikang refused, don't let me have such thoughts in the future, otherwise, I will forcefully send you back regardless of whether you are willing or not. TCH. Chu Xia rolled her eyes, it's too disrespectful. I just said it casually. Do you think we are really going? It's just that when I said this just now, they said you would definitely not agree. I think just verify it. Zhou Mikang. Has anyone verified this kind of thing? Okay, you go ahead. We are waiting here. When will you come back? When will we go back? Chu Xia stared at him with a serious face, there is no need to discuss this. Don't even think about sending me back. If you feel sorry for me, come back soon. Okay, Zhou Mikang responded solemnly, nodded to several others, and strode away. Sister-in-law, please go in and have a rest. Zhang Ping politely helped several people to open the tent door. Thank you. After saying thank you, Chu Xia pulled a few people into the tent, but found that Lu Xiaomei's face was very red, so he reached out to her forehead in confusion. Xiaomei, what's wrong with you? Do you have a fever? No. Lu Xiaomei shook her head and subconsciously hid behind her, it's just hot and cold. My face gets red easily. I'm in good health and I usually don't catch a cold. Your face turns red when it's cold or hot. Zhao Bingbing frowned and thought about it, looking at Lu Xiaomei doubtfully, that's not right. When we were together before, we alternated between cold and hot, but I never saw you blushing like this. Look at you. It feels like your face is on fire now. Xiaomei, if you feel uncomfortable, just tell me, don't be pushy when it comes to illness, otherwise you'll be in trouble if your brain is burned out. It won't burn out, Lu Xiaomei said anxiously, I really don't have a cold. Just believe me. I believe it. Wu Jingbo raised her eyebrows with a mysterious look on her face, Xiaomei has a fever. After being stunned for a moment, Chu Xia finally understood. She glanced outside and asked Lu Xiaomei in a low voice, Xiaomei, do you like Zhang Ping? After a moment of silence, Lu Xiaomei nodded with a blushing face, yes. Chu Xia laughed, then let me ask you later. Zhang Ping had been engaged at home before, but because he had to go on a mission, the woman cancelled the engagement. It just so happened that he was single now. If both parties were interested, then it just couldn't be better. Can he like me? Lu Xiaomei looked at Chu Xia with some anxiety. I'm not good looking and I'm not a college student, so his family can't agree, right? Who said you don't look good? Zhao Bingbing took out a small mirror from her pocket. Look at it for yourself. You are so pretty. Men like you. You can tell that you are living a stable life. Chu Xia and Wu Jingbo touched their foreheads together. Is this a compliment? The first sentence sounds like a compliment, but the second sentence makes it clear that the person's parents are not good looking. To be fair, Lu Xiaomei is not beautiful, but she is definitely not ugly either. She is of medium height, pretty and pleasant. She is a perfect match for Zhang Ping. Seeing a hint of sadness flash across Lu Xiaomei's eyes, Chu Xia turned around and left. Go out. Sister-in-law, what's the matter? Lu Xiaomei, who was in a daze inside, became anxious when she heard the conversation outside. She wanted to call Chu Xia back, but she didn't dare, so she hurriedly walked around in circles. Stop turning around. Chu Xia knows how to sell you, Wu Jingbo said shh to her, indicating that she should pay attention to the conversation outside. Have you written home recently? Yes, I wrote it. How is everyone at home? Have you mentioned the blind date to you? Everything is fine, I didn't mention. Zhang Ping answered Chu Xia's question with some confusion. Zhang Ping was full of questions. After these few months, my sister-in-law has never been talkative and likes to inquire about things. What happened today? Then your aunt and uncle should be anxious for you to find a girlfriend, right? Chu Xia pretended not to see Zhang Ping's confused look and continued to talk with a smile. There's no rush now, because I'm still on a mission, and I'll probably be in a hurry when I get back, Zhang Ping answered truthfully. Then you take this opportunity to find one and don't let the elders worry about it, okay? How can it be so easy to find? Zhang Ping smiled bitterly. Sister-in-law, please stop teasing me. I am a rural soldier and my level is not high enough. How can a girl from the medical team like me? Then what do you think of Lu Xiaomei, who came with me? Chu Xia deliberately lowered her voice. I just thought you two were a match when I came in just now, so I came here to ask you first. Girls are thin-skinned. I'm afraid that first if you ask her, she won't know how to answer, so you, the big man, will sacrifice something. If she agrees, you will make money. If she doesn't agree, don't feel embarrassed, okay? Yes, Zhang Ping responded happily. He looked like this, and Chu Xia felt a little unsure. After a moment of hesitation, he asked, do you know who Lu Xiaomei is, right? I know. Zhang Ping nodded. I'm just a little shorter and thinner than you, and have a pretty girl with straight hair. Hey, you've noticed it a long time ago, Chu Xia joked with a smile. He. Zhang Ping rubbed his head sheepishly and smiled. You guys have been here a few times, of course I will remember it. Then you agree, right? Yes. You really want to be with her because you really like her. You don't want to be with her because you don't want others to gossip, and you don't want to be with her because I mentioned it, right? Yes. Zhang Ping had a black line on his head, and this string of words was so confusing. Okay, I'll go in first. When she reached the door, Chu Xia looked back at him again. Would you like me to pour you some water? After Chu Xia said this, Zhang Ping really felt that he was thirsty, but he had the nerve to ask Chu Xia to pour water, so he bit the bullet and said, Sister-in-law, I'm not thirsty. You're not thirsty yet. When I brought the water, you were smacking your lips. Chu Xia ruthlessly exposed the panic-stricken Zhang Ping, leaving him standing in the wind with a red face and a mess. R1152. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1207. Third update to make up for yesterday's update. Early summer. Seeing Chu Xia come in, Lu Xiaomei's face was filled with gratitude. Her face was so red that she felt like blood was dripping out, and she couldn't say a complete sentence for a long time. Xiaomei, please give Zhangping a glass of water and go out. She blinked at Lu Xiaomei, and Chu Xia sat down on the sofa. After talking for a while, I am also thirsty, so I need to drink a glass of water to replenish it. It's hydrated. Knowing that Chu Xia was creating an opportunity for herself, Lu Xiaomei poured a glass of water and took it out with a blushing face. Zhangping, who had already heard the conversation inside, took the water with a confused face and said repeatedly, "Thank you, thank you. You're welcome." Just as Lu Xiaomei was about to turn around and go back to the house, Chu Xia's voice came over, "Xiaomei, wait and get the cup back. There are a lot of girls in there, how can you let Zhangping have the nerve to come in?" The steps she took were pulled back abruptly, and Lu Xiaomei stood directly opposite Zhangping, staring at the glass the other man was drinking from. Zhangping, who was already a little nervous, quickly speeded up when he saw this. The scalding water went down his throat. It hurt, but he didn't have the nerve to utter a sound. "Slow down." Of course Lu Xiaomei knew how hot the water was, so she hurriedly tried to persuade her, "I'm not in a hurry." After a slight hesitation, he simply said, "Actually, Chu Xia just wants to create opportunities for us too, because I like you, but I'm embarrassed to say it, but since you also like me, let's talk and give it a try, okay?" "Okay," cough. Unexpectedly, Lu Xiaomei said this. A mouthful of water stuck in his throat. Zhangping coughed violently. Lu Xiaomei quickly stretched out her hand to pat his back. This was great. By the time Zhangping stopped coughing, his face was already red and peaceful. Guangong had a hard time. Several people in the tent opened the tent door and stood there to watch the excitement, and the light just hit Zhangping's face. I'm in." Lu Xiaomei took the cup and walked into the tent in a panic. She regretted it after saying it. She was too bold. How could she say such words? How would Zhangping think? He was thinking so deeply that he didn't even notice the people standing side by side at the tent door, and he bumped into them. Zhao Bingbing, who was standing in the middle, was so frightened that he moved quickly and barely escaped the fate of being hit. After entering the tent, Lu Xiaomei found that there was no one inside. She looked around in confusion, and then she understood when she heard the laughter behind her. She turned around and blushed, You are so bad." "Yes, we are so bad." Zhao Bingbing said something in a tone of voice, and stepped forward to hug her shoulders. "Xiaomei is really good, I admire your bravery, girls should be like this, being pretentious is the most boring thing." Wu Jingbo echoed, "Yes, I also admire Xiaomei for this. She usually seems quiet and introverted, but she never loses her temper at critical moments. Such a person can easily succeed in anything she does." Chu Xia smiled and poured 4 glasses of water. "Come, let's drink a glass of water to celebrate. Congratulations to Comrade Xiaomei for being single." "Okay, congratulations Xiaomei. Congratulations." Listening to the laughter inside, Zhangping, who had calmed down, unconsciously grinned. He never thought that a new marriage would come in such a way. In particular, that girl was someone he had always noticed and liked. It was not that he had not fantasized about it, but he knew from the conversations between several people that the girl was from the capital, so he backed down unconsciously. Now, knowing that he is from the countryside, people still express their love for him. I am so happy that my heart will jump out of my chest. I didn't expect anyone to come and steal the food. There was no one guarding Y's kitchen, which made the plan to steal the food go surprisingly smoothly. The second half of the night is when people are most sleepy, and the few people who came here were all used to stealing. So, most of the dishes were moved without a trace, and the division commander Tongzi also took 2 chickens with him. Of course, in order to prevent the barking guy from ruining things, he was there. The stupid chicken was pinched and passed out while still curling up one leg and taking a nap. Jo Hanliang looked at the two furry animals in the teacher's hand with a look of wonder. Jo Hanliang really didn't know what to say. It wasn't that he didn't think there was a shortage of these things. He really couldn't compare the chicken thief and the wise and martial teacher. Adults connect. When Joe Mikang opened the tent and came in, several people stood up immediately. When they saw the two clacks in his hand, they all looked like they wanted to laugh but were afraid to laugh. Of course, Chu Xia was not so kind. Greeted Joe Mikang with a smile, and looked at Joe Mikang. It seems to be going well, and I really got 2 chickens back. Are you here to ask me for credit? Yes, I promised to bring you 2 chickens back. Of course I can't break my promise. Joe Mikang smiled and rubbed her head. Okay, we are back too. Let's go back to sleep with everyone. Chu Xia dodged and dodged his big hand, frowning and staring at him with dissatisfaction. I hate it, your hands are like chickens, come and touch my head, it's so dirty. Joe Mikang deliberately teased her, it's okay, this chicken is very clean, there is no chicken feces on it. Ah! Chu Xia was so angry that she pushed him with her hand, you're so disgusting. Others. Is it really good to show affection like this? Well, let's go. Chu Xia, don't go back. There are too many people and the target is too obvious, Wu Jingbo said, dragging the 2 people left and right and quickly dodge out. If she doesn't know better, she is afraid of the teacher. Adults will hold a grudge against them. When those eyes glanced at them, she was so frightened that she broke out in a cold sweat. Mom, it was clear that she just thought their light bulbs were too bright. I'll make chicken soup for you tomorrow morning. Go to sleep. Joe Mikang put down the chicken in his hand and said to Chu Xia while washing his hands, you can't be tired now. No matter if you are certain or not, just be careful. No, you always make small talk for me and people will gossip. By the way. Chu Xia stared at him with bright eyes. Zhangping and Lu Xiao may have decided to talk to each other. Joe Mikang looked at her funny, we just stole a dish and you became a couple. Yes, but I can't be considered as a match-up. We have known each other for a long time, but we have never made it clear. Joe Mikang, I think you can find good quality male soldiers who are single in the future. If you are transferred as a guard, maybe I can help solve the problem. I think it's okay. Joe Mikang nodded, okay, I'll listen to you. Now that Zhangping's matter is settled, let's change someone else and leave the arduous task of solving their lifelong problem to you. It's not fun to treat it as a mission. There are so many people around me that I can't tell them apart. Besides, some of them have boyfriends. I can't break them up to cater to you, right? Yes. Joe Mikang smiled and pinched his little wife's pink cheeks, then don't change it. Go to sleep. You have enough things to worry about. Let this kind of thing take its course. After hesitation, Chu Xia looked at Joe Miksang, Yamiru has almost recovered, what are you going to do with her? Let her go back, she sighed and said, after recovering from such a serious injury, it is not appropriate to stay here anymore, and Grandpa Ye has already forgiven her, so let her go back to reunite with her family. If Zohai, if you want to go back together, I will approve it together. When the time comes, you will also go back. This place is really not suitable for you to continue to stay. If you push me back like this, you're really going to fall out. Chu Xia glared at him dissatisfied, I didn't react at all. What's the matter with you sending me back like this? I'm not going back anyway, and it's up to us to go back. Let's go back together. Every time I call you, you feel like crying. Why bother? Joe Mikang sighed helplessly, I will take care of myself. Don't worry when I go back, okay? No, they do need me, but there are so many people at home accompanying them, and you are the only one here. Chu Xia looked at him seriously, I came here just to accompany you back, I also know that it won't last long. My position is very safe, I can help, I'm not a burden, don't always push me away, okay? Too stubborn, okay, I won't kick you out. Just go to sleep as you wish. He forced his little wife into the bed and patted her gently, like pampering an ignorant child. Lying there, seemingly breathing steadily and falling asleep, Chusia was actually feeling very tormented. She thought the two children were going crazy, but she just didn't show it in front of others. It's not that she didn't think about going back early, but after facing a real war, she didn't dare and didn't want to go back. The world was too unpredictable. It was rare to meet a man she liked and treated her well. She wanted to be there. You can always be by his side when he needs it. Especially, with her current medical skills, she plays a pivotal role in the medical team. Her staying here will definitely do more good than harm. Of course she felt ashamed of a pair of twins. Every time she had the chance to make a phone call, the two little guys would talk to her about the eldest child for a while. They also said that mom can stay with dad in peace, and we have many people to accompany her. The child, who was less than 2 years old, was extremely sensible, which made her as a mother feel proud and guilty, but at the same time, she did not want Joe Mikang to worry about her. His burden is already heavy enough. She stayed here to help him, not to hold him back. How could Joe Mikang know that his wife was really sleeping and pretending to be sleeping? How could you not understand what the other person meant by doing this? But at this time, it would be better not to say anything to make my little wife feel more at ease, so he pretended not to notice someone's entanglement, lay beside her, hugged her waist, and pretended to fall asleep. If you pretend, then I will pretend, just because I love you so deeply. R1152. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 1208. The first update is here and the book will be finished tomorrow. Thank you for your support. Rumble. Da. A fierce battle started, and this battle was over. This self-defense counterattack was completely over, but the original self-defense turned into occupation. Compared with the small or zero casualties in the past, this time, the situation is much crueler. War is like this, and it is impossible for you to keep going as you wish. It's different, everything is different. This was Chusia's biggest feeling. In her era, when they counterattacked into the middle boundary of country Y, a recall order was issued from above. At that time, it was also the old General Su who led the army. What Mr. Su meant was that it would be good to directly destroy the other party's lair and let the girls stop. However, the issues above must be considered more comprehensively. We cannot just indulge ourselves and become the target of public criticism in the future. After all, we don't have enough people yet. Ability to resist so many external intrusions. Furthermore, our country has experienced countless disasters in the past century, and the people have been living in hardships. It is impossible to let the people's lives fall into dire straits just to retaliate with tooth. Therefore, no matter whether we are willing or not, we must make a decision to compromise. As long as the other party makes a promise never to invade, we will withdraw our troops and return all the territory we have conquered. Such a detour is difficult for an upright and passionate soldier to accept. Unhappiness on the way back is unavoidable. Chusia heard all this from his grandfather. This grandfather is naturally Chusia's own grandfather. What the old man likes to do most is to tell his granddaughter about the past. However, because Chusia is close to her grandfather, even though she is not very interested in these things, she always listens carefully, even if sometimes one ear hears it and the other forgets it. The torture she had suffered in the past turned out to be her biggest asset in establishing herself. If not, it would have been impossible for her to help Jo Mikang. However, now it is completely different from what she once knew, and the track has deviated. It's getting bigger. While this made her feel unsure, she couldn't help but feel full of pride in her heart. The feeling of reciprocating a tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye, was so satisfying. And she has truly integrated into the life of this era and into this important battle. When she stood down one day, she felt that all she saw in her eyes was blood, and she felt panicked. Several team members died while rescuing the wounded. Although she was not familiar with her, she was still feeling overwhelmed. The cruelty of war is so profound before us. She also asked Jo Mikang, could she stop beating the opponent until he was unable to fight back? Why must we keep moving forward? Is it possible that we really intend to expand our territory? Jo Mikang looked at her helplessly, stretched out his hand and tapped her forehead, saying that she was really a little fool. How could our country do such a thing? If country Y can really make a guarantee and show sincerity, we will naturally withdraw. Who cares about their rotten place? If we really take it back, it will become our burden. Who cares about such a thankless thing? But the problem is that what the other party has shown is basically a desperate struggle at the end of the road. If we don't really scare him, there will never be peace in the future. Therefore, what we have to do now is to scare the other party so that he will never be afraid again. There is no thought of invading us. The price is a bit high, but if you don't do it, you'll have to pay a bigger price someday. It's the lesser of two evils, and that's why it's done. Chu Xia also talked about the difference between the memory of the past and the present. Jo Mikang said that he didn't know before. But it feels like we are in two parallel spaces after all. It is very normal for the development trajectory to deviate due to the influence of external forces. The so-called external force is me? Because of my arrival, everything has changed, Chu Xia asked. Jo Mikang thought carefully for a long time before saying that she was one of the external forces, and there were some other differences that might be fundamental. For example, he once tried hard to find Chu Xia's biological grandparents, grandma, father, and mother, but in fact, there were no such ones. Personal. So, it means that these two spaces are really not exactly the same. Otherwise, how can we explain this? In terms of age, Chu Xia's grandparents should not be much younger than Zhou Jingping and Lin Yangkao now, while Chu Xia's parents are only a few years younger than her now. It is easy to find someone at this age, and she also puts herself. I remember the old address of my home very clearly, but the people living there were an old couple I didn't even know. The old couple had no children. In view of the above, Chu Xia was certain that the two spaces were different. This made her confused and a little panicked at the same time. Although she didn't have everything under control originally, the changes were too big and it was scary. What's wrong? Sitting in the air to rest, these thoughts flashed through his mind in confusion. Helpless, Chu Xia had no choice but to shake his head vigorously to bring himself back to reality. With the roar of artillery and the rattling of gunfire outside, how could she spend her time in a daze? We don't have enough outside members. Can we bring in a few to make up for it? Two team members came in carrying a stretcher and asked the team leader Qi Xiang breathlessly. Apart from Dr. Chiao, the only ones left are Chu Xia and Qi Xiang. Who else can be sent out? I'll go. Qi Xiang gritted her teeth and walked out. Team leader Qi, you stay here while I go. Chu Xia took a step forward to hold her back. You have to stay here to coordinate. If you leave, everything will be in chaos here. I'll go. No, 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 Qi Xiang waved her hands in a panic, joking, this is the master's treasure, how dare she let her out? It's okay, life or death is up to you. I'm not much more valuable than others. You always take care of me like this. How can you lead others? Chu Xia smiled at her and said playfully, don't worry, my life is tough. No people dare to accept me. Don't. Chi Xiang still wanted to refuse, but Chu Xia had already ran out. She didn't care about her life, nor did she care about her family. She wanted nothing more than anyone else to cause trouble. However, in such a situation, she could only after making such a choice, if she were at the rear, when she advised others, she would also ask them to act within their capabilities and think twice before acting. However, when she really got here, she really saw the bloody reality, and her bloody nature was stimulated. The choice will definitely make a difference. Moreover, if everyone thought twice before acting and kept their own small thoughts, how could it be possible to achieve today's results? Even with the help of her prophet, no matter how talented Zhou Mikang is, the first thing is to fight a tough battle with courage and courage. I'm with you. Someone suddenly appeared next to Chu Xia. Hearing the other person's voice, Chu Xia frowned and turned to look at the other person. Although you have recovered, you still have to pay attention. If you can't stay, you go back and help bandage it. That's not my strong point. Yamiru looked at her seriously. What I do now is also to atone for what I have done. In the past, I only thought about how to harm others. Now, I want to save more people, or God will take back the punishment from me. I want to stay with Zohai for the rest of my life, so I must let myself accumulate more good karma. When did she become a Buddhist? She sighed helplessly, and Chu Xia stopped trying to persuade her. They were all adults, and she was not hers. Since this was her choice, she should respect it, just like no one would think it was wise for her to make such a choice, but didn't she do the same thing? The rescue center was only more than a mile away from the front line. While running there, she met many team members returning carrying stretchers, and Chu Xia's heart began to lift unconsciously. She was originally in the tent, and although she had a very real feeling about the war, it was different now. Her relatives and friends were all in this situation, worried, anxious, scared, all kinds of emotions. It began to spread uncontrollably. It is impossible for people to be completely selfish. If possible, they would never want anything wrong with the people they care about. Or, there are fearless people in this era, but she is not. She participated because she already had the ability, so she wanted to participate. However, her concern for her relatives and friends would not change. If you get closer, can you see him? Chu Xia, why are you here? When Zhao Bingbing and Wu Jingbo ran back carrying a stretcher, they happened to bump into Chu Xia. They couldn't stop and they missed each other. Zhao Bingbing was still yelling, "Come back quickly and rescue me, wounded, stop making trouble." "Go back in a minute," Chu Xia turned around and shouted, speeding up her pace. Relatively speaking, the danger they faced was smaller than that of the soldiers. The injured soldiers on the front line were all moved backward by their comrades. It's their turn to take over, but even so, there's no guarantee that blind guns won't appear around them. Seeing Yamiru running beside her, Chu Xia felt even more complicated. Once upon a time, the two of them were mortal enemies, but now they are fighting side by side. Haha, things are really unpredictable. As the distance got closer, the ringing in my ears became louder. Although I had been here for nearly a year, this was the first time in early summer that I was so close to the scene. The previous battles were not as fierce as today. There were basically no casualties among the team members, and there were not as many wounded as this time. Her role will be better in the operating room. But this time, several more doctors were sent, but no additional nursing staff were sent. Suddenly, it seemed that the situation was stretched thin. "Lin Chuxia, have you ever thought about this day?" Yamiru suddenly asked. R1152. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1209. Second update. Yamiru's inquiry made Chu Xia stunned for a moment. She glanced at the other party and asked, "Do you mean to say that I have never thought that one day we will complete a common task together, Or are we hooking up? Yes. No. Chusia shook her head calmly. I really never thought of it, after all. She didn't say anything else, but the meaning was very clear. Yes. Yamiru answered with a smile. After all, I have done so many things to hurt you, and I have such deep hostility towards you. How could you possibly think of this day? To be honest, I never thought about it, but on the day I was injured, I was particularly looking forward to the day when we would take on something together. I thought it would be impossible to achieve in this life, but I didn't expect that my wish would come true so quickly. Haha, so everything is possible. Where's Brother Zo? Chusia asked. These days, no matter where Yamiru goes, Zohai follows her. Why didn't he stop her today? When he went to help lift the wounded, I ran out, and then I happened to see you. Yamiru blinked her eyes proudly. How about it? I'm smart, right? It's quite smart. Chusia smiled at her. Anyway, I sincerely congratulate you for today. I said that we will be happy together, and I really mean it. I know. In fact, the longer I stay in contact with you, the more I understand why you are favored by Joe Mikang. It goes without saying that you are younger and more beautiful than me. In terms of personality, you and I are really incomparable. You are generous and open-minded, but you are not a good person. When you should have principles, you will absolutely stick to them. No one dislikes such a person. I was always unconvinced before, but now, I am completely convinced. Fortunately, I have figured it out, otherwise, I would definitely lose in the end without even a single scumbag left. Haha. I really didn't know how to answer the question, so Chusia had to answer with an awkward laugh. As I spoke, I felt less nervous. Sighing, Yamiru looked at Chusia. To be honest, this is your first time facing such a scene. Are you nervous? A little bit, but more importantly, I'm worried. Chusia also sighed. I would say I don't want anyone to get hurt. That's nonsense, but I really can't accept casualties like now. Although you were born in an ordinary family, your parents really protected you very well, otherwise, you wouldn't have the thoughts you have now. Of course, I am not saying this to mean that I think it is normal to have so many casualties, but I want to tell you that compared to things that have happened before, the casualties like this time are already very few. Don't compare with the past, just compare with country. Why, if we are in this situation now, then they should be many times as powerful as us. Thinking about it this way, doesn't it make it more balanced? No, Chusia shook her head. The war is caused by the desires of some people, but the ones who are really responsible are the most ordinary and innocent people. Of course, I'm not sympathizing with them, I just want to say that they are just victims of some people's desires, but they don't know it. That's true. Yamiru nodded in agreement. They are different from us. We have no choice but to fight back, but they ended up like this because of their ambition. However, there is no way to sympathize with them. Some of their soldiers, and even the common people, are extremely extreme. If we ordinary people were encountered by them, they would definitely suffer inhumane humiliation. So, in the final analysis, they are just a group of poor people who were sacrificed, but they are extremely pitiful because they will be like snakes. It will bite you back and kill you. I agree with this. As he spoke, he had already reached the boundary line for picking up the wounded. The wounded man who had just been brought over was lifted up by two team members waiting there. The two had to stand there and wait. From a distance, Chusia's heart twitched when she saw a few small black figures running this way. Seeing it with her own eyes was definitely different from seeing it in a tent. Turning around inadvertently, he happened to catch Yamiru's eyes. He was startled, and his body reacted before his brain. He quickly took a step back. At the same time, he raised his foot and kicked him out. The fierce look in Yamiru's eyes was no longer concealed. Smiled cruelly at her. The reaction is quite fast, but it's useless. She raised the gun in her hand towards Chuxia. There is no one here, this debt will be settled on country Y. Chuxia felt a little buzzing in her mind. She was blaming herself for her carelessness, but also a little disappointed. She originally thought that the other party had really gotten better, but she didn't expect that it was just a disguise. She had doubted it before, but the other party's actions successfully dispelled her doubts. In terms of acting skills, even the best actresses did not dare to compare with her. While these thoughts were passing through her mind, Chuxia was also constantly moving. She couldn't be a target for the other party anyway, and she regretted why she didn't fight Zhou Mikang. After all, her skills were good. It's useless. Along with the words, a shot was fired with a pop, aiming at Chuxia's left leg, but because of Chuxia's dodge, it was shot at the foot. At this moment, Chuxia was really glad that Zhou Mikang had strict requirements on her. Otherwise, it would be a fool's errand for her to hide away. Yamiru, you can't live a good life, what are you trying to do? While shouting to attract the other party's attention, Chuxia quickly lay down on the ground and rolled towards Yamiru. The other party had a gun, so it was useless for her to dodge. The best way is to fight at close range so that the opponent has no chance to shoot. No matter what, she cannot guarantee that she will not be injured. However, now, she can only choose the method with the smallest chance of losing her life. Yamiru didn't expect that she could be so agile. To be honest, she had endured it for so long and killed the opponent with one shot. It felt like such a loss. What she wanted was to watch the opponent lose his life in fear. She had worked hard for this day and endured it for so long. She could never let the other party get away with it again. She also thanked the other party for the hardships he had put on her. Otherwise, how could she have the patience to endure it for so long? Haha, what does it mean to meet the right person for her, that idiot Zohai? She admitted that Zohai was very good to her, but he was too stupid. If she really lived with such a person, she would feel aggrieved for the rest of her life. She knew that even if she killed Lin Chuxia, Zhou Mikang would not marry her. Okay, but so what? Why should such a rural girl get what she couldn't get? If Chuxia knew about the other party's psychological activities, she would be angry and happy at the same time. If the other party really killed her with one shot without knowing it, there was definitely a chance, and then she would have really died unjustly. He rolled to the other party's side, kicked him without hesitation, and put his arm around the other party's legs. Yamiru was pulled down by her, and the two quickly rolled together. After falling into Chuxia's trick, Yamiru felt a little anxious. She wanted to torture the other person and watch the other person die in despair and fear. She also wanted to sprinkle some salt on the other person when he left. However, she didn't want to delay the time for too long. No team members came over for the time being, but who knew how often someone would come over? And the little black shadow running over there is getting bigger and bigger. Compared to Yamiru, Chuxia was a little weaker after all. After a while, she was pinned down by the other party. Looking at the cruel smile in the other party's eyes, Xia cheered up and warned herself that she must never give up, no matter what happens. She can't give up at any time, otherwise, her babies will really become motherless children. What I hate more in my heart is my own gullibility. In the future, hey, what are we talking about in the future? It's really impossible to generalize about this kind of thing. If the other party really gets better, her suspicion may be counterproductive, but when it comes to this kind of pretense of getting better, her lack of suspicion becomes the cause. In the end, what should be done? Is it possible that people are too tired to live? Yamiru's hands were tightly grasped by Chuxia. It was impossible for her to pull them out to get the gun, so she simply changed to another method, raised her buttocks and hit it down hard. Feeling anxious, Chuxia hurried forward. He curled up his legs and kicked out hard. He didn't expect that Chuxia's body would be so soft. Yamairu was kicked aside by Chusia. Taking advantage of this time, Chusia quickly rolled out and dropped Yamairu's gun on the ground. Got it in hand. The situation was reversed. How could Yamairu be willing to do so? She spun around and quickly rolled towards Chusia. Without hesitation, Chusia pulled the trigger and quickly shot towards her figure. She was sure that she would hit Yamei. However, the opponent's speed did not slow down at all, and even tended to speed up. After fighting for so long, Chusia was a little out of strength after all, and his retreat speed slowed down. As a result, he was rolled to his side. Yamairu was overturned and hit the ground heavily. A new round of close combat began again. At this moment, Chusia finally understood the power of training that Yamairu said. Her arms and legs were hit by her, but Yamairu's movements were not delayed at all. The intensity was a bit stronger than before, it was almost like a plug-in was turned on. Grandma, if she had known that such training would have such an effect, she should have asked her teacher, Tongzi, to lie to someone like Yamairu without feeling guilty at all. Yamairu, who had the upper hand again, looked at Chusia mockingly. Today, you are dead. In the distance, two team members were running over hurriedly. Yamairu frowned and increased the strength of his hands. Chusia also saw that in order to let her die, Yamairu even risked his own life. Ignore it, otherwise, she wouldn't continue to do this when people are coming, but she really has no strength. R1152. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1210. 3 updates. The sounds in her ears gradually became distant, and some pictures kept flashing through her mind, so fast that she couldn't catch them. Could it be that she really wanted to leave? Tears flowed down her eyes unconsciously, but she did not regret today's decision. Even if it was not today, it would be someday in the future. In this case, she would rather be now, here. She can't live, and Yamairu can't live. Want to live. I haven't seen my son for nearly a year. He has grown taller and fatter, right? Because there were too many worries, the elders did not dare to send photos of south, north and north. Listening to their words became more and more logical. She could even imagine what they looked like, but after all, she had not seen them with her own eyes, so what a shock. However, she was more guilty than worried about them. She believed that the elders would educate them very well whether she was there or not. What worries her the most is her parents. They regard her as their life. If she is gone, how will they survive? But fortunately, there is Joe McSang, the man who loves her to the core. He should know her grief and help her take care of her parents. Her heart couldn't help but throb. She had never thought about what he would do if she was no longer there. Such a stubborn man will be lonely from now on. Tears blurred her vision, and she tried desperately to use her hands. Then suddenly, she felt her breathing became smoother, and she couldn't help but feel happy. Could it be that she had pushed Yamairu away? Then, fresh air continued to pour into her lungs, and those distant sounds and thoughts were brought back. Then, her vision finally came into focus, and then she saw a person riding on the leaf. Fists hit Mairu's body like raindrops. It's Fang Tingxiang. Another girl whom she was not very familiar with was standing on the side looking at a few people at a loss. Sister Chusia. Luan Dejiang also ran over, looking nervously at Chusia who was sitting on the ground and asked, "What's going on? Did you fight with her just now?" He pointed at Yamei, who was being beaten. Like. It's not a fight, she wants to kill me. Chusia was helped up by Luan Dejiang. She took a step forward and looked seriously at Fang Tingxiang who was still punching hard. "Thank you for saving me, but hit her again, he's going to die." "Do you still want to plead for her?" Fang Tingxiang stopped and looked at Chusia with a frown. "For a woman who wants your life, or in other words, For a woman who has repeatedly wanted your life, you still want to plead for her. A trace of disappointment flashed in her eyes. With a character like yours, sooner or later, Mr. Joe will be dragged down. No, I don't plead for her. I just want to ask her, why does she hate me so much? Her misfortune is clearly caused by herself. After so much, why is she still like this? How can there be a reason for this? Fang Tingxiang curled her lips. Jealousy, how can you tell why? As long as you live well, she will be angry. The reason is as simple as that. What she can't get will be destroyed. The result is so cruel. I know. Chu Xia nodded. I know all her thoughts, but I still want to say a few words to her, because she made me really doubt human nature. I don't know what she will do in the future. Do you dare to believe those who have reformed their evil ways and returned to the right ways? Don't believe it, Fang Tingxiang said categorically. There is absolutely no way for a woman to correct her evil jealousy. As long as it is of this type, don't think about forgiveness. If you don't meet it, if you meet it, just hit it with a brick. Die so that you don't disgust people all day long. At this time, Yamiru was breathing better. She tried a few times to flip Fang Tingxiang off her body, but it had no effect at all. Want to get up and continue to harm people? Fang Tingxiang looked at her mockingly. I will not give you this opportunity. Either you die here or die in prison. Your future will be. There are only two endings. What qualifications do you have to tell me this? Yamiru's eyes were full of disdain, staring at Fang Tingxiang like an idiot. Do you think no one else knows that you like Zhou Mixang? Your eyes are almost fixed on him. Now, why are you pretending to be a big-tailed wolf? I don't know if you are really stupid or pretending to be stupid. If I kill her, if I die again, won't you just have a chance? If you don't know how to seize such a good opportunity, I think you are going to say that you are the second stupidest person in the world. Absolutely no one dares to admit that you are the first. Turning to look at Chu Xia, Lin, let me tell you, as long as I am alive, as long as I have breath, I will never give up revenge on you. Either kill me now, or you continue to wait. Take the move. She is really broken now. She has been seen through anyway, so there is no need to pretend. Chu Xia looked at her indifferently. I want to ask you a few words. It's not about myself. I just want to know if there is anyone or anything you care about in your heart. Don't tell me what you care about. It's Zhou Mixang, I'm talking about. Other than that. Who do you want me to care about? Who can I care about? A sneer appeared on Yamiru's lips. Do you think I am like you, with so many people who really care about you? So I said God is unfair. How come a fool like you is pampered and pampered by so many people? Why do people who work so hard like me always get hit? My happiness was robbed by you, and my relatives abandoned me because of you. To be honest, they are not worthy of being called my relatives. Otherwise, how could you punish me like that just because you are an outsider? Since they treat me like this, why should I care about them? Friend. I've never had any friends, let alone anyone I care about, so if you think about it, who else should I care about? Zohai. The smile on Yamiru's lips became even colder. He's just a fool who doesn't know his own abilities. Otherwise, he wouldn't have ended up like this because of me. Lin Chuxia, I can tell you clearly that from the day I came back, I made up my mind not to marry anyone other than Zhou Mixang. The life or death of others has nothing to do with me. For him, I can do anything. I can even marry an ugly guy like Huang Xinlong. What else do you think I can't do for him? I would like to ask, what have you done for him? Apart from letting him love you, pamper you, and protect you, what else have you given him? You are just asking without wanting anything in return. You are really the most selfish woman in the world. However, he is such a smart person, and I am not willing to be blinded by you. Therefore, I would rather die than let you continue to stay by his side and lie to him. I just didn't expect that such a hopelessly stupid idiot would come. Yamiru's eyes fell on Fang Tingxiang, who was sitting on her again. To describe you as a pig is just to put gold on your face. Got it? Don't judge others by your standards. Yes, I like Zhou Mikang, but my liking is different from yours. He is my hero, the most capable man in the world. What I can do for him if something happens, I will be very happy. As for me having undue thoughts about him, I'm not overestimating my abilities. For someone like me, my fingers are a bit thick to carry his shoes. The one who matches him should be a delicate woman like Lin Chuxia. Although I didn't like such a girl before, now I feel that I am biased. Although she looks delicate, she is not squeamish. After nearly a year on the front line, everyone has seen what she does. Inside, she has never had any privileges just because she is the teacher's wife. In fact, he has done more things than us and suffered more than us. Apart from being too soft-hearted, I really can't find anything wrong with her. The teacher should have such a wife. Moreover, she is the mother of the teacher's child. The child cannot lose his mother's love at a young age, so I must save her. My love for the division commander is the love of an ordinary soldier for the commander. It is a kind of adoring love. It is different from your narrow love. So, don't use your dirty thoughts to measure me. I find it disgusting. Haha. Yamiru shook her head mockingly and rolled her eyes. Chu Xia quickly stepped forward and stamped on her calf pole. Creak. Ah, the screams pierced the eardrums. Luan Dejiang and another girl standing there shivered unconsciously. By the way, where are the wounded people you just brought up? At this moment, Chu Xia belatedly realized that something was not quite right about the scene. 6 team members came over just now. When you were confused just now, those 4 people had already carried away the wounded. I didn't expect it to be you at first. It wasn't until they carried away that I saw you clearly. Chu Xia sister, you really almost scared me to death. I won't want to run to these dangerous places in the future. If something happens to you, how will my uncle and aunt live their lives? Chu Xia nodded solemnly. I know that I will not run to such dangerous places in the future. I will definitely do what I can. Moreover, today's incident also shows that I am still too weak. I must put myself out there. You have to practice to become stronger. Yamiru squatted next to Yamiru and reached out to pinch her. Yamiru woke up and turned around. Just when she was about to curse, she was slapped in the face by Chu Xia. It didn't seem to be too satisfying. Papa, slap, slap. He slapped you again. I've been kind enough without crushing both of your legs. At this time, more wounded people were sent over. Chu Xia called Luan Dejiang and said, don't go back yet. Come with me to send the wounded back. Given the current situation, Luan Dejiang didn't feel comfortable leaving, so he walked to his 2 comrades, whispered a few words, and then turned back. Sister Chuxia, let's go. Chu Xia pointed at Yamiru and said to Fang Tingxiang, I'll leave this to you. Fang Tingxiang nodded, don't worry, we will definitely carry her back intact. R1152. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 1211. 4 updates. The trumpet of victory sounded, and Chu Xia's steps paused slightly. Ji's mouth opened into a smile and he looked at Luan Dejiang. Let's go. Wait a minute, okay. The person who made the request was the wounded man on the stretcher. He injured his leg. At this time, he forcibly stood up and looked towards the main battlefield. His face was filled with excitement. Okay, Chu Xia knelt down, took out the hemostatic medicine from the medicine box she carried and applied it on him, and inserted a few silver needles to seal the acupoints, so that even if it was a little late, the injury would not be affected. She was not a battlefield. The soldiers on board were all full of passion at this time, let alone them. You are a doctor, and it is your duty to save me. Over there, Yamiru, who felt increasingly weak, held her neck and shouted at Chusia, "Don't you always claim to be responsible? Don't slap yourself in the face now." Chusia smiled brightly, "It's okay. With you, I'm not afraid of hitting myself in the face. I'm not the only medical staff. It's useless to use that method to suppress me. You guys should go back soon. Li Qiao and I are leaving first," Fang Tingxiang said as she greeted the girl who was still standing in a daze. "Carry her to the stretcher with me." Yes, the girl who was called Li Qiao responded and quickly lifted up Yamiru's legs. Fang Tingxiang smiled at Yamiru, "I'm not as bad as you. Not only do I not save lives, but I also want to kill people." As he spoke, he picked up the opponent's arms, but when he was about to put the opponent on the stretcher, he staggered and fell to the ground, and half of his body hit Yamiru. Yamiru, whose leg was already broken, roared and fainted before making a second sound. "Oh, after working for so long, my legs and feet are really weak." Sighing and getting up, Fang Tingxiang smiled apologetically at Li Qiao, "I scared you, didn't I? I'll be more careful this time." "Oh." In response, Li Qiao lifted Yamiru up with her again, but when he was about to put it up, he staggered and hit Yamiru hard. Yamiru, who had already fainted, was suddenly knocked awake again. Her legs were in terrible pain, and her arms were in terrible pain. The wound on her chest burst open after being hit by Li Qiao. She felt that her whole body was not well. She rolled her eyes and passed out again. Then, Fang Tingxiang and Li Qiao moved the stretcher forward at a snail's speed. Two team members happened to run over carrying the stretcher. Seeing their condition, they just thought they were too tired and said, "Let's go." "No, let's do it." "No, no, no," Fang Tingxiang waved her hands repeatedly, "we are the last one, no matter what we do, we have to persevere, so don't join us. Chu Xia needs help, so hurry up. You really can." Fang Tingxiang waved her hand, Okay, go quickly, don't be wordy." Seeing that she was so determined, the two team members stopped talking nonsense and ran to Chu Xia in a few steps. "Dr. Xiaolin, leave the wounded comrade to us." "Wait a minute." Without waiting for Chu Xia's reply, the wounded man spoke first, "I want to wait a while." Two team members have black lines on their heads. What happened to each of them? However, the two of them soon realized that the cheers in the distance were reaching their ears. Seeing that he had nothing to do here, Luan Dejiang looked at Chu Xia, "Then I'll go back first." "Okay." Chu Xia nodded, and took a step forward to whisper in his ear, "Don't tell Zhou Mikang what happened just now. Anyway, I have nothing to do. Don't let him worry. When he comes back, I will tell him personally." "Tell him." After a slight hesitation, Luan Dejiang nodded in agreement after looking up and down at Chu Xia. When the group returned in early summer, they found that the entire medical area was in jubilation. Even the seriously injured patients who were bedridden had changed from their previous sluggishness and became energetic. Thinking that her life was hanging by a thread just a moment ago, Chu Xia's mood was indescribably complicated. For a while, she still couldn't get over Yamiru's disguised injury. It was beyond her knowledge that a person could pretend to be like this. If she didn't trust others because of this in the future, it would seem inappropriate. If she did, she would be afraid of being hurt again. "What's wrong?" Zhao Bingbing happily ran to Chu Xia, but found that she was distracted, so he stretched out his hand to poke her out of curiosity, then frowned. "What happened to your neck? Why do I look like I was beaten? Someone pinched you." "That's right." Chu Xia sighed heavily, "You almost wouldn't be able to see me anymore." Did you meet someone from the enemy? Zhao Bingbing suddenly became nervous. Where did you meet them? How did they escape? Didn't they sneak into our place? As he said this, he looked around with his neck scrunched up. Stand up. Chu Xia rolled her eyes at her. You are overthinking. How could someone from the enemy sneak in here? That's true. Zhao Bingbing touched her head in embarrassment. As for the teacher's arrangement, it can be described as impregnable. If you want to sneak in, unless you are a god, then who is hurt? When it comes to the last sentence, Zhao Bingbing his face darkened. It can't be Fang Tingxiang, right? Chu Xia looked dumbfounded. Why did you think of Fang Tingxiang? She is the only one who is picky about you. Zhao Weiwei has been sent back. Other than that, Zhao Bingbing's eyes widened in disbelief. It can't be Yamiru, right? Chu Xia nodded. That's her. After being silent for a long time, Zhao Bingbing still looked unable to accept it. Her previous performance was all just fake. Yes. Isn't this too awesome? Yes, Chu Xia sighed heavily. If she hadn't acted so sincerely, I wouldn't have been fooled by her. For a person to be able to act to this level is really so admirable. You are a little confused now. Do you still dare to trust people who have been hostile to you in the future? Yes, Chu Xia nodded. I know that not everyone is like Yamiru, but she did make me doubt human nature. How can a person pretend to be so real? I can't understand it either. By the way, where is Yamiru now? She was seriously injured and was carried back by Fang Tingxiang and Li Qiao. She should be being rescued now. If it weren't for Fang Tingxiang, my life would have been decided. It's really unimaginable. Thinking of his suspicion of Fang Tingxiang just now, Zhao Bingbing had a stern look on her face. It seems that she is still too lacking in seeing people. She was deceived by Zhao Weiwei before, but now she is, see good as bad and bad as good. Yes, I can't imagine. Chu Xia sighed heavily. Although I know there is nothing to worry about, I just can't relax. If I were you, I wouldn't be able to relax. Your teacher is too good. There will definitely be those women who don't care about life and death. It will be too difficult for you to solve this matter. I think you should wait for the teacher. Come back, explain to him properly, and don't let anything like this happen again. After a pause, Zhao Bingbing said again, why don't you just stay with the teacher and be his assistant from now on, so that those with bad intentions can leave on their own. It's too sad if our family needs to be maintained like this. Forget it, I don't want to think about it anymore. I'll talk to Zhou Mikang later. Anyway, I won't let anyone who is attracted to him show his kindness to me again in the future. I'll believe it. Where's Ouji? Where's Huang Sui? Zhao Bingbing spread her hands. You also said that they were also interested in Mr. Zhou, but now they have become friends with you. But now, I suddenly have a feeling, can they not believe it anymore? What if they are also pretending? Speaking of which, I think they don't look as sincere as Yamiru. Once bitten by a snake, fear of well ropes for 10 years, this is what it feels like. With a heavy sigh, Chu Xia waved her hand to Zhao Bingbing. I don't think about it anymore. I am busy with work. Victory does not mean everyone's harm, it will heal automatically. I'll go to Dr. Chiao's place to see if I can help. Okay. In response, Zhao Bingbing turned around and walked towards her tent. What a coincidence. It was Dr. Chiao who performed the surgery on Yamiru. When he saw Chu Xia coming over wearing disinfectant clothes, he nodded to her and gave up the position of the surgeon. Senior brother, I can't. Chu Xia shook her head and took a step back. I almost died by her hands just now. Now you ask me to save her, I can't do it? What do you mean? Dr. Chiao frowned and put down the equipment. Qi Xiang also looked at Chu Xia with a worried look, then took tweezers dipped in alcohol and wiped the bruise on Chu Xia's neck. Dr. Chiao also noticed Chu Xia's neck, brows, his wrinkles became tighter. Is this what she did? He tapped his chin on Yamiru, who was lying on the bed. Due to excessive blood loss, she was beaten and beaten by Fang Tingxiang and Li Qiao all the way back. Yamiru came back. If you have entered a deep coma. Chu Xia nodded and said, yes, she did it. Then it's no pity. Dr. Qiao's expression immediately relaxed. Just now I was worried that she would be in a coma for a long time and suffer such serious injuries. Plus the old injuries, even if she was rescued, she might not be able to survive for the rest of her life. It's impossible to live like a normal person, but now, this result is good news. Yes, this is good news. Chu Xia also looked relaxed. On the way back, she had been struggling with how to deal with Yamiru. She wished she could kill her with her own hands, but in a legal society, she couldn't do that. If you do it, you can't bear the stain on yourself so that your sons can't hold their heads up. Whether she is right or she is wrong, some people are like this. Because you are excellent, because you live a good life, you need to be tolerant and generous. You must not retaliate, otherwise, it is immoral. She doesn't want to be kidnapped by this kind of morality, but she also doesn't want to give the other party a chance to hurt her again. Especially, now that she has a pair of babies, it will be really troublesome if Yamiru's target of attack becomes them. R1152. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 1212. 1 Update. Chu Xia is a doctor herself, so of course she knows what Dr. Qiao said about not being able to live a normal life. What else does a woman whose intelligence has degraded to the state of an infant have to worry about? However, even if Dr. Qiao made such a diagnosis, she couldn't just believe it. She had to wait for the other person to recover and send someone to follow him for a period of time. In this regard, Zhou Mikang's people were very experienced. She doesn't have to worry about it. Knowing the truth, Dr. Qiao was not as anxious to rescue her as before. He checked the instruments slowly and then stood in front of the operating table again, asking Qi Xiang to be his assistant. When the operation was over, all the troops returned. Chu Xia was changing the dressing for a wounded person. Zhou Mixang came over and saw her smiling so happily. Then his face darkened, he took a step forward and stared at her neck. What's wrong? When did the wounded man who was being dressed come into such close contact with Zhou Mixang? His body stiffened and he couldn't breathe smoothly. Chu Xia could only reach out and push the teacher's tube. You go out first and finish the work at hand. I will go to you right away and tell you the specific situation. Okay. Knowing that now was not the time to get angry, Zhou Mikang withdrew. Xiaolin, go ahead. Qi Xiang came over and said, leave this to me. The teacher was under so much pressure and finally relaxed, but he saw that you were injured like this. Tell him properly. Say, don't let him worry, he's been so tired these days, and it won't be good if he gets so angry that he hurts his body. Team Leader Qi, how can it be as serious as you said? Chu Xia looked at Qi Xiang, who was smiling ambiguously with a speechless face. No matter how angry he is, he won't hurt himself like this. Okay, I'm just making a metaphor, don't waste time here, go quickly. That's right, go ahead. Yes, we finally won. The division commander will definitely want to see you first. How can you leave someone out like this? That's right, it's so confusing. Being teased by everyone, Chu Xia knew that the situation would only get worse if she stayed, so she reluctantly withdrew. After Zhou Mikang arrived at the tent, Chu Xia recounted the previous encounter in detail. Seeing the teacher's face turn black, someone quickly used the magic of coquettishness. Don't be angry, you believed her too, didn't you? And in that situation, I really couldn't stay here anymore. Just because I am your wife, I cannot be so selfish. Otherwise, how will others see you in the future? I don't care, the main thing is that I don't want to embarrass you. Anyway, it was a near miss, which shows that God still loves me very much, right? How did you promise me? I. Chusia smiled guiltily. Of course I remember, but the situation was special. I really had no choice. At that time, team leader Chi, and Dr. Chiao were the only ones left. Who do you think I don't want to go? How many people have been lost during this period? Biting her lip, Chusia's voice became hoarse. She felt panicked when she thought that those vivid faces would never appear again. Each of them is the treasure of their parents, and if they are lost like this, how many families will fall into hell from now on? Yes, she almost became one of them, but it was precisely because of this that she felt even more that what she did was right. I'm not saying you shouldn't go, I'm saying didn't I tell you before that one of Zhao Zhu and Li Meifeng must be with you? At this point, Zhou Mikang shook his head again. Forget it, it's okay to say this, what's the point? How can you keep them by your side when you're so short of people? If you could do that, you wouldn't be able to run to the front line with Yamiru. Chusia, I'm actually not really angry with you, I'm angry with myself. All of this. It's all because of me. You were not immune to this. But I, who pride myself on being extraordinary, didn't see through her, let alone you. Especially this time, Grandpa Ye expressed his forgiveness for her. Looking at her relationship with Zohai, how could he doubt her again? It can only be said that she has completely gone crazy. Why didn't you shoot such a person in the head? Even if my intelligence is that of a toddler, I still can't trust her. Don't worry, you don't have to worry about her affairs in the future. I will negotiate with the Ye family. Okay, Chusia didn't stop her. This was exactly what she was worried about. Since the teacher, Tongzi, was going to come forward, she couldn't wait to do it. Thinking about her previous disguise, who was sure that she wouldn't pretend like this in the future? If you spend your whole life worrying about when the other person will reveal his true colors, that would be too tiring. Next, can we go home? Not wanting to continue this topic, Chusia asked, has the specific date of our return been decided? We can't go back yet. Zhou Mikang sighed, the entire country Y has been captured by us, but if we just leave like this, what's the difference between not capturing it? Therefore, the next time is to wait for the results of the negotiations. If those people show enough sincerity and provide enough compensation, we will withdraw. If we can't reach an agreement, or... He sighed again and smiled bitterly, this is simply a hot yam, and it's not safe to hold it in your hands. Of course, if you really have to hold it in your hands, we still have a way. Make them safe. After all, the former leaders did not regard the common people as human beings. As long as we give proper guidance and kill the extremists once as a warning, it is not impossible to take over this territory. It's so different from before. Yes, I am also thinking about this issue, but since a deviation has occurred, we can only go on like this. Zhou Mikang patted his wife comfortingly and said, don't worry, everything will be fine. Of course I believe this, but I don't know how long I will stay here. The soldiers have been out for so long, and they are all homesick. Oh, it's so contradictory. Before, I was looking forward to defeating them quickly, but they were defeated. But it's so entangled, or maybe people like me just don't have much potential, and I really don't understand things like this. It's not that you are hopeless, it's that the era you lived in was different from now. Some concepts have been deeply engraved in your bones, and the way you look at things is naturally different from people today. So, you should be lucky to have met me, because I have been different from everyone since I was a child. They always say that I am not gregarious, but in fact it is just that everyone has different ideas. It's so awesome. Chusia rolled her eyes at Zhou Mikang and couldn't help but laugh. It sounds like it's really the case. If I hadn't met you, if you hadn't understood me, I wouldn't have known it now. What kind of day is it? Therefore, I decided to treat you well in the future. Okay, I won't worry about it anymore. I will stay with you here with peace of mind during this period. When we can go home, we will go home together. 2 days after the operation, Yamiru woke up with a look of confusion in her eyes, looking timid to everyone. Zohai, who was silently guarding her bedside, sighed, "Miru, how do you feel?" He stared at Zohai's face, then turned his head away and continued to be in a daze. Zohai picked up the cotton swab and gently wiped Yamiru's lips. Yamiru stuck out her tongue and licked the stretched out cotton swab. Yamiru chuckled and signaled Zohai with her eyes to continue playing with her. Zohai kept adding water to her mouth. Standing at the door, Chuxia looked at the scene with inexplicably complicated emotions. Why would such a good man fall in love with such a woman? As far as Yamiru is concerned, she is really not worthy of pity at all. Even if she died immediately, she would not feel any pity at all. Yamiru is probably the only one who can make her have such thoughts. Son. Who are you? Turning around to see Chuxia, Yamiru stopped laughing and began to look at her curiously, then raised her wet arms. Hug, hug. Chuxia turned around and left, hugging. Haha, no one would hug her, even if she is now a 1-year-old toddler, she doesn't care. Don't hate her. Zohai walked out and stared at Chuxia. I apologize to you on her behalf. She has become like this, so don't hate her, okay? Chuxia fixedly looked at him. That's your opinion. I gave her a chance, but she wasted it. Therefore, she will never have any chance in this life. Yes, what she did is absolutely unforgivable, but she has become like this and is no longer the same person as she used to be. If you continue like this, you are basically punishing yourself. From now on, I will take good care of her and prevent her from getting lost, from appearing in front of you again, and from having another chance to have contact with you. Please forgive her, okay? My forgiveness is irrelevant. Chuxia waved her hand in disgust. Zohai, I treat you as a friend, please don't challenge my bottom line with this issue, okay? Please imagine, if someone hadn't arrived in time to save me, now my 2 sons would have become children without a mother, and my parents would have become lonely old men without a daughter. Since I dared to rush out, I was naturally prepared to lose my life in case of death. However, my plan was not to lose it in her hands. Do you understand how I feel? Put yourself in her shoes. If you still can't understand it and still think that I am not generous if I don't forgive her, then just pretend that I didn't say anything. I'm sorry. Zohai bowed solemnly to Chuxia. She was indeed so wrong. My request was unreasonable. Please forgive me for being unreasonable. Waving her hands, Chuxia didn't say another word to him. She turned around and left, but her clothes were grabbed by Zohai. Chuxia was a little annoyed. What on earth do you want? Do you think other people have to treat her like you? Satisfied, R1152.